Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, beautiful Miruna.
Hello again. Hello, beautiful Macy.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our episode number 10. I cannot believe it. This is amazing. I think today we are going to conclude the topic of vulnerability, right? And today we thought it was going to close the cycle of it, the boucle, how we shall say that.
Yes, the
Um,
loop.
the what?
The loop.
The loop. Thank you very much. About to whom? To whom shall we present our vulnerability, share our vulnerability? Um, when is the right timing? What are the right moments? You know, we believe it's quite tricky sometimes because you want to mean well, but we do understand that the other person's facing you or the other people facing you can have an impact of how you're gonna feel safe or not, right? Sharing your vulnerability. So yeah, so let's dive into that. And that's gonna, like we say, close the beautiful topic of vulnerability. So interesting. It's so related to all the other topics we talked before. So very, very exciting.
Yes, it is. And let's dive as deep as we can in this space. I feel happy that we're closing the loop, but in the same time, I'm like, oh my God, this is such a wide topic. But let's give it our all. And so, this morning, as always, I meditate and I connect with our topic before. And what emerged was this question about around safety, and so feeling safe and feeling seen and respected regarding another, like the capacity, my own capacity to feel safe, seen, and respected, and the capacity of another to make me feel safe, seen, and respected as a base, a major base for me being willing to be vulnerable or not with the person in that space. That's what emerged as more like a question, not really like a list with points and then an equation to
Okay, is that a checklist? And then okay,
yeah, like
I
it's
on the
not
list.
really a checklist.
Then
Yeah,
I can open up my vulnerability.
yeah, because that would be very irrational, right?
Right.
But more like for example, this question, does this person know what makes me feel safe? And in
Mm-hmm.
the same time, have I expressed to this person what makes me feel safe?
Mm-hmm.
Have I? If so, if yes, has this person acknowledged and understood this on a deep level or not? Does this person have the willingness or the interest to hear, like really hear and listen and understand what I require to be more vulnerable with them or not? So for me, it's like the safety base is so important, whether we acknowledge it or not, because the undercurrent that prevents us from being vulnerable is fear. In my experience, I see you nodding in yours, and in the experience of human beings. Like if the undercurrent is fear, then what is the base that holds a safe space, that makes you feel not fearless, right? Because I don't think this is realistic, and I don't think that is has vulnerability. Actually, we just discussed last episode that the courage is not the absence of fear, but overcoming it and just opening up regardless or in spite of the fear. But can I feel safe enough, respected enough to actually open up. So for that also, it means if I state a boundary with which I'm not yet ready to, that I'm not ready to take away yet with you, you need to make sure that you respect that, like the readiness, right? The graduality. If there is no acknowledgement or understanding regarding what makes me feel safe and what I just said about I'm not ready to talk about this, or I don't want to take it further right now, I'm probably not going to continue with my deep opening, because it's as if the other one has not opened their own depth to receive what I'm about to share, right? So these were some elements that emerged.
I love this.
And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wanted to share that with you, and also, of course, to hear what's your
of course.
experience. Well, how are you resonating or not with them?
Oh, for sure. It's always we're connected in so much many levels, right? So I do believe it's normal. I do resonate with what you said, and I'd like to add that I love the questions you mentioned earlier, and I would add another question if it's not clear, because I think this is the tricky part. If it's not clear, sorry, my dog. If it's not clear, the tricky part for people is that it's not obvious for them, right? It's like, oh, well, what's this intuition? What is this discernment in within? And I think that would be very an interesting topic to talk about. But at the end of the day, the another question that could really be helpful is, has this person showed me in the past that it was safe to open up, to share, not even your vulnerability, but to share something that you've been thinking about or sharing? So have this person showed you, or are they depicting you a personality or a type of behavior that makes you feel safe as well, right? So if you never really opened up in the past with this person in a vulnerable way, you can kind of look at their type of behaviors and patterns and the type of personality. What is the type of energy that they have around? Are they really more inclined to think about themselves? A lot of self-absorption when it comes to your talks and discussions, or do you see them providing listening, active listening to the people around both of you, around people they care, right? Or they love, or just strangers, Have you seen them be able to not be judgmental,
Mhm.
Because this
Mhm.
is something that's very, very omnipresent with us in our ego ways. We judge so easily and unconsciously, right? So there's a couple of things. They don't have, like you say, to check up all those three items, obviously, but those can be indicators for you to allow yourself to feel safe, as you said it. And sometimes you feel a need and then readiness to share. You're like, okay, you're onto that. You want to explore that vulnerability. And many people tell me, well, I don't really write this. I don't really journal. Like, I just talk. But if you
Mhm.
give yourself a try, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through writing, there is a lot of benefits into writing. If there are other people you're not surrounded at that moment where you feel like, I feel like it's gonna stop me from just exploring this vulnerability. Well, try, guys. Try to do it with yourself by writing, asking yourself. We can put it maybe in the description, some questions that can help you to dive deeper in your vulnerability. But
Mhm.
try it out with yourself. Don't let your mind run, because we said it before. Mind can be programmed and really tricky. But when you talk from the heart, you have to take this moment on the writing. So when you feel ready or in an urge to share or something that like, oh, I feel like I want to explore that, don't let the other people as well stop you from doing so if you don't think they can receive you at that moment in your life, because maybe they're living extreme situations of stress. You see them like overwhelmed by their own
Yeah.
lives. Like there are really things that can prove you that that's not the right time as well. But do so in a meditation journaling style. Try it, guys. Explore it. It can be so beneficial because you're only right now living your life right now, right? And it belongs to you to explore that for yourself, right? If you wait for others to be ready for you to explore and grow, then you might be waiting for a long time and you might miss a beautiful opportunity. Well, rest assured, that doesn't mean you're gonna miss the opportunity forever and you're not gonna dive deeper in it if you don't do it this time. But it's just to show you that there's a reason why certain things trigger us. When we talked about hurt, why people hurt us and why we're being hurt. And there's a reason why you feel ready to talk about certain delicate topics or certain thing that hurts you, certain vulnerable, vulnerable topics. There's a reason. So let us surf on it. Surf on it, take advantage of this momentum. Um, so that would be my add-on to you. You're welcome to share, and then I have another questioning behind, you know, how do you feel safe actually? So
I love that. Such an important add-on. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, I do believe it begins with ourselves, because if we don't practice listening and feeling within ourselves, and journaling helps so much, we're really not go. It's going to be more difficult to do with another right off the bat. You know, we don't have any
it's not
practice.
clear also, right? It's not as
Yeah, we're
clear.
just
So
gonna.
you
Yeah,
said
yeah,
something, yeah, earlier. The
yeah,
question you said, it was, does the person know what are my needs, or how do I feel safe?
yeah, yeah.
You
Like
have to take
exactly.
time,
Like
right?
sometimes we jump to the other, and we didn't even take the time, or we didn't
Prepare
even
to
ask
raise.
ourselves this question. So of course we cannot, how can we express it or expect it from another? And if we ourselves, or if we ourselves didn't acknowledge the base, the undercurrent of fear, that actually, like, really, like, at the root of the truth of when we're controlling, at the root, at the core of the energy, when we can be judgmental, or when we can just be defensive, it's fear. So, taking the time to really feel our own, I would call that the deeper truth, because I can say, no, I don't like the when you do that. But why? Why? Is it because I don't like your personality? No, it's because you're actually creating fear inside of me, which, to connect with another huge sign for me, is this person willing to be vulnerable themselves? Are they willing to go into their own hearts and feel their own fears and acknowledge them? Because I was also thinking this morning, when it can happen, and that's more of example of a man and a woman. It's more, I find it statistically, it happens more often between men and women, that men think that protecting a woman from feeling and going into feelings is a good thing, which in my perspective and in the perspective of many women is definitely not. So what do I mean by that? It's like, you know what, if I know pink bothers you, so we're not going to talk about pink. Okay, I'm not going to do any
Avoid it.
pink in the house. Avoid it. Let's just pretend it doesn't exist. And if I see it, or if you see it, I'm just going to turn you away, and we're going to pretend it's like the autriche. For someone, let's say a typical woman, who what makes her feel safer, and I'm going to name myself in this example, this is like totally me, but I'm not the only one. What makes me feel safe is that you're willing to be super transparent and honest, and that we can look at pink together, even if I don't like it. And you're not going to try to hide away from it. We're not going to try to like pretend it doesn't exist in the world, but just like brave that wave of uncomfort. Can you be so courageous to brave the wave of me being fearful, which makes you be fearful, and acknowledge that you're actually afraid of me being emotional? Like, for me, that's at the top of the list
Yeah, I
of,
see. It's a
can I
very
be safe enough in this space? So
see.
it's not, again, just to break it down, don't protect me from feeling with avoidance. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, it makes it
this
worse.
is not a real protection. This is making, if I was unsafe or insecure like
Exactly.
before, 5 minutes with this behavior, I'm gonna go, like my internal system of alarm is gonna go whack. And I definitely don't feel safe. So emotional availability is obviously, are you willing to go into the heart? And are you willing to be emotional yourself? To acknowledge the existence of
Mhm.
emotions in another and in yourself, because that's what really brave is, and
So,
that's true protection, actually, I
so
find.
your experience, what you're saying is that your willingness to be vulnerable with another person, you cannot truly feel vulnerable and safe as long as the other person is not willing to allow you to feel the pain and express your emotions and receive you in this way. So you feel there's a resistance. Thus, it makes you
Yes,
not feel safe. Thus, it makes you not want to dive deeper in your vulnerability.
yes, yes, because in the same time this person is resisting opening up their own hearts where courage is found, and is resisting being completely transparent with me and with themselves. So it's like this whole part of them, they don't open it up. So
Mm-hmm.
where is my space to be vulnerable? I mean, with them, because I have my own space. You know, I
Yeah,
have
that's the
my own
thing.
space within, with my spirit, with my
But
soul,
yeah,
and I have space with my sisters. You're one of them.
yeah.
But I mean, with them,
Mm-hmm.
like it's like, we want us to be, we want the other person to be vulnerable, but can you handle it? Like, can you really be, and again, some people are very good at listening and receive the other one's vulnerability. Like, I can do, I can let you do that, but I'm not gonna be vulnerable, like, ever. So if I notice that in someone, that they're not going, it's just bottom line, they're not going into their heart. And emotion for them is like pest. Okay. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
but
emotion, what am I gonna do with emotion? So basically,
like that for many
they're
people.
totally unaware and disconnected from their own selves, from their deeper selves. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, that's, and again, it's not just for me, most women I know would tell you, yep, well, they would call it emotional unavailable, right? But it even goes deeper.
Of course.
It's
But
like,
that's the
I
result.
do
That's the
not
output
feel
of it.
safe.
There's underlining things, yeah. But
Yeah.
to bring us back to this, it's very interesting because it depends on where you are in that spectrum. So what I'm hearing is that there's an evolution of your standards. What are your needs in order for you to become more and more vulnerable? You're talking about diving deeper in vulnerability, right? So as you dive deeper, your need for a safe space grows bigger and deeper in a sense, right? Because you have to feel like, okay, I can handle it with this person or this
Yeah.
half, this beautiful partner that I have in my life, or whomever you can really connect with or have intimacy with. So as you dive deeper into your vulnerability, your need for this safe space goes deeper with it, right? It's proportional. So it's really interesting to see where are we in the stress line. Because at the end of the day, some people, let's say this video can also affect people who have never really expressed their vulnerability, and proves them that if you're at the beginning of this, it's okay. You have to do trial and errors. And we're not here to tell you, get it one shot deal, get with the first person. Look at us. We have made mistakes. We have trusted and opened up for people that we're not ready to open up. That's why we're sharing today our experiences, and we're sharing what can actually help you to discern and learn better whom could we, in what kind of situation can we actually open up, right, our vulnerability. And I feel like your personal experience is to prove that where you dive deeper into your vulnerability and you grow deeper in your consciousness and your self-awareness, there's this need that grows with it. and meaning that the other person receiving you for your personal experience and your standards and your needs, they need to be willing to open up as well, or to receive you as well, or to not be fearful of actually facing the discomfort of emotions,
Yep.
and right? When you're beginning at this spectrum, however, start by focusing on your needs of your vulnerability, and it might happen that the other person may not know how to react and what to do, but in the same time they might as well be super surprising you and do it, right? So yes, our question remains, meaning to whom should we, but at the end of the day, do trial and errors, in the sense that experience it. But because if you had to ask me, Macy, what is better, to keep it all indoors and never speak up my vulnerability, or
Mhm.
to try a little bit at least and possibly be crushed, and possibly not receive it well, but not reject you, but the other person just doesn't know how to receive you.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
rather you try the latter.
Mm.
I'd rather you try it, because holding it in out of fear of being rejected by the other person, or fear that it was not the right timing, is also not better.
Very
You're not
unhealthy.
expressing it. You're not
Very
taking
unhealthy.
risk. We talked about taking risks, right? And versus the reward of taking.
Yes.
It is a vulnerable step to be vulnerable with someone else, right? So
Yes.
rest assured and remind yourself that at the end of the day, we want to encourage you to try it out and get out there, because Miruna, and tell me if I'm wrong, you wouldn't know where you're at now with your needs if you hadn't done this experience,
Oh my God, so many,
right?
and so many fails, by the way, of me knowing how to allow somebody to be vulnerable with me. Like, seriously, these questions,
Yeah, me too.
any question I ask myself, I would ask these questions to the other person automatically. Like, it's such a reciprocal dynamic, right? But I would definitely know, well, with practice and with much error, to start with these questions. Like, what makes you feel safe? Let me tell you, well, if you want to, let me tell you what makes me feel safe. Let me tell you actually what makes me feel fearful, because like that is being vulnerable, right? And are you willing to let me know what makes you feel fearful, or even acknowledge that you have fear? Some people, like, they don't even acknowledge they're afraid. They're like, no, I'm not afraid. Like, well, your nonverbal is really not saying that,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we can
right?
talk about this so long, but yeah, I love it how your need to safety is actually collaboration.
Yeah.
Me too, at some point, to grow into this intimacy. I as I'm growing, like I told you, in my own relationship, is like I am having a need and growing need for this intimacy that is collaborative, that is going both ways, right? But my personal experience at the beginning was, it's always two ways, because the other person has to receive you in order for you to keep diving into your own vulnerability. But like you said, my trials and errors was, as I was sharing what made me feel hurt at that moment, I didn't know that was quote unquote vulnerability. So
Mhm.
you really test
Mhm.
and drive. You really like go on, and that's your share. You learn yourself, like, hey, that was me feeling vulnerable and sharing vulnerability. And then next time you're like,
Mhm.
okay, I realize that when this person says that or react this way, that doesn't make me feel safe. So now next time I'm gonna verbalize. So it's about
Mhm.
self-awareness, guys. And this is very a key ingredient for everything we're touching base with right now in our topic, is self-awareness. Because if you do not develop this sense of self-awareness and self-understanding of where you are, you're going to be clueless yourself. You won't be able to share truthfully or honestly one clearly to the other person, okay, this is what I need when I'm sharing
Yeah.
vulnerability, or this is what I need, or what when I feel safe, or this is how I feel safe. Or like you keep asking me, okay, this is
Yes.
what I feel, what do you feel, right? So we've got to develop this sense of self-awareness so you can share the other person. So this is a fact. The other person cannot, they're not mind readers, okay? They're not all empath like us. They're not
And
all like,
even if we are empaths, we're not mind readers. No.
exactly right.
Yes.
They're not like we have it, we
Mhm.
have abilities that's we're more sensitive to the cues, right? But not everyone. We've never been taught at school to actually understand social cues, discomfort cues, nonverbal cues. We have not been taught this way. So you've got to come from a place where I want to share my vulnerability, but I want to create as well an easier space, an easier way into that space. I can create that with the person I trust as well,
Yeah.
right? So it's interesting if you can say, hey, now I feel like sharing something that hurt me. What I need is that you hear me, that you listen to me, that you acknowledge me, that you welcome me without trying to fix it. Quote unquote, I'm pointing
Yeah.
at that men who try to fix it. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
In case there
So
wasn't
we're talking in
obvious.
generalities here, but yeah, it's a tendency. But so
If and if the
very
timing
interesting.
is right, yes. And just to go to take it to the side of men and women, just not to point too much towards men. And if a man would want to share with us, what I need is for you to respect me and understand me and seek to understand me. So respect is huge. If ever they should be so courageous to be so vulnerable as to speak it, which is great, is a great point. And in that situation, it might be that is not the right time for the other. Okay, they're too tired, they're too reactive, in which case we can definitely say, listen, I'm usually not, I'm not available right now, like I'm just too tired, or I feel super triggered. Let's find a better timing. It's so important, this timing that is connected with the availability, because if we just go and push it, just to speak it out too quicker than the other one is ready, we can just make it worse, and we can turn a practice that could be more successful into, oh, there you go, well, another failure. Obviously I'm not good at being vulnerable, why don't I just stop doing it? It's
Yeah,
so
yes,
timing is key, and the timing will be it. We need to, just
yeah,
like in any relationship, it really takes two to be ready and wanting. It's definitely not going to be comfortable,
yeah,
but can we handle it energetically right now? Or if one is really not ready, I would not go into that, because it's not a safe space. Like if
yeah.
one feels unsafe right now and super triggered,
It's gonna create
it's
more
not,
harm.
just take a break, even 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be like, let's wait a week,
Yeah,
but take a
yeah,
break, take a breather, go walk, come
yeah.
back.
Mhm.
It's much better, but don't try to deny it and make pretend it doesn't exist for a whole week, and hopefully we're never going to talk about it
That's
anymore.
something us,
That
yeah,
is
me too. I really don't like
nightmare.
that.
It's
That's
not,
the
that's
way of
the
coping
opposite
with
of.
it, you know? It's very interesting, really interesting. So it's time is flying, and I
I
feel
agree.
like there's, as we're exchanging about what is the right timing, quote unquote, of sharing the vulnerability, I feel like there's type of two kind of situations where can arise when I've seen with some of my fellow companions or friends or acquaintances where there's the unplanned vulnerability shots, like where you are kind of not planned at all, but then you start to have tears, you start to share with a
Yeah,
stranger, an acquaintance, so it was not planned, but it had to go out. That's what I'm saying. When you pent it up, it's coming
yeah,
out one way or another.
yeah,
So it's either you
yeah.
do it in your best case scenario and you create a safe space, or you do it and it's like all
Blah.
and
Yeah,
it's gonna happen no matter what, guys. It is inevitable. Feelings, emotions are inevitable. They are serving a purpose.
they
You cannot
have a
avoid it,
role.
even though you
Yes,
think
they're
you're
not bad. Yes.
so there's this, in one hand, there's a scenario A where unknowingly you kind of just open up and share, and then notice when that happens, the person you're probably doing it impromptu was creating unknowingly a safe space for you because it just was a timing, so you open up, right? So when that happens, just serve through it. It's okay. Allow yourself to feel it right now, and maybe just when the moment pass, ask yourself interesting question. How did I feel? Do I feel lighter after opening up in my vulnerability? Even though it was a random person, you still open up at that moment. And this person, maybe you inspired them in turn to do so for themselves, right? So how did I feel? Did I feel lighter? what did I learn for myself? What did I become self-aware of? So use this vulnerability to understanding your better self, betterment, how it actually served you, and how it actually was rewarding, even though it was uncomfortable at the beginning, how it was rewarding to open up your vulnerability. On the scenario B, which I think we just talked for the last few 10 minutes, is where you are placing with somebody when the vulnerability is about the other person, especially, and you're into a relationship, whether romantic, whether another type of relationship with a friend, really close friends, you are placing, you are actually addressing a vulnerability that's regarding often the other person you're talking with, right? So that's even more tricky and more sensitive because the other person might
Yeah.
take it personal, right? So that's why I think
Often
we're
they
touching
do. Yeah.
base, right?
Yeah.
So to create the safe space, prepare it. You talked about the breather, asking yourself the questions, clarifying your needs with the other person before sharing it. Sometimes it's gonna come out. It's okay, guys. It's gonna come out
Yeah.
not planned. It's gonna come out all mixed up,
Tangled.
not prepared,
Yeah.
not structured, and that's life, guys. That's life for everything, right? But at least the important step here is that what are the afterthoughts afterwards? What did I learn? What did I
Yeah.
learn?
What did we learn about ourselves and each other
What did
in
we
the
learn as
process?
well
Yeah.
afterwards, right? So at the end of the day, there's no right or I believe there's no right and wrong answers about what is the perfect timing. Because trust me, guys, even though we talked about the last 30 minutes of what is the perfect timing, we don't
Oh,
always have it perfectly,
these were questions, by the way. It's not like the
right?
absolute truth of the perfect timing. It's
Exactly,
no,
right?
it's like when is it? We're just
Yeah, it's just
questioning.
indicators, just to help you. By the end of the day, it's out to happen the way how it's out to happen for you guys, and there's just beautiful cues. And as you practice it, everything is practice. The more you're gonna practice opening up your vulnerability, the more you're gonna learn and know to whom
Yeah.
and to what situations you can allow yourself to, and the more you're gonna learn what are your needs to allow yourself to dive deeper into your vulnerability once you open this door.
Yeah.
So there's no right or wrong answers, but I hope the questions we helped you with, our personal experiences, the cues that we have today, it's much more developed for I think for us. We can instinctively, intuitively know, sorry, when is the right timing for us and the other person we're talking.
Yeah. And that all that came with a lot of practice and a lot of errors and lessons learned. So, but it's worth it. It's super worth it. And
Exactly. The
that's,
bottom line, guys, it's worth it.
yeah.
You've got to try it out. Try it out and know that if ever you got the worst case scenario, they rejected you, they blocked you, whatever the worst case scenario you can imagine in your head, know that it was never about the vulnerability part of yourself. It's never, it was not about you. The other person was not ready to receive it because there's so much beauty and authenticity to a vulnerability. It cannot go wrong when you go through with yourself and your true essence. Just
Definitely.
cannot, guys.
Definitely.
Yeah. So let us conclude with that. I don't know if you had a conclusion or word of conclusion before we leave.
I would just invite everyone to just write up some questions that resonated with them. And first and foremost, go within. Of course, it's all within. Just go within themselves and really take the time to understand both the basis of the fear of like the most vulnerable, most sensitive of oneself, and also the other part, which is what would really make me feel safe or what would invite me to be open and be more vulnerable. Because as much as I love being organic and letting things flow and appreciate the perfection into even mistakes, I think that the more we gather tools of awareness within ourselves, the more pleasant or the least difficult it will be for us to actually dive deeper and open more,
Yeah.
because it's a freeing experience. So, and also I seriously, often we jump to the other with expectations or like just requests that we haven't even dove deep enough within ourselves. So it would really save a lot of energy and, well, tears, and just wasted time to do that. So yeah, and the journaling suggestion that you had is such a powerful tool. It helps, not just to take that moment, but to write it down so we can come back and see it again.
Yeah, and become
So
an observer.
I would definitely invite a deeper dive in within, so that actually after we can go towards the other, know how to better verbalize, communicate, and of course ask the other about their safe space, about what they need, about, because it's about a dance, it's two, it's not just one. So
Exactly.
that would definitely open ourselves more
Very
to
interesting.
each
And I
other
love
and
the
to
questioning.
ourselves.
I think we're going to put down the questions that can help you for yourself. And if you want to use it as an exercise with a duo with another person you cherish, that you would like to dive deeper into intimacy, I think I would do it myself. I think I would do it with my partner. That would be very nice. And it's going to be interesting. Anyway, we don't want to dive into that, like how to know where the other person's at and how to respect each other's process. That's another day for another topic. I feel like we could talk and dive deeper for our next episodes about self-awareness, or
Oh my God.
or like discernment, like your discernment. How, like, because a lot of
I
people,
love it.
us for a long time, were clueless.
Yes,
Um, we did
we're
not.
super connected.
Oh
I
yeah.
was going to say, and then I'm like, no, she will say it. It will be awareness. And then you said it. Yeah, it's
No.
such a, for whoever had the ears to listen, it came up so naturally, and it's, again,
This
such
is
a flow into the next.
such a flowing.
Awareness.
Oh,
Beautiful.
hallelujah. It's beautiful. So I cannot wait. We'll put that together for our next
Yes.
episode. We'll think about the format, but thank you so much again, guys, for joining us. We
Thank
love
you,
you all
everyone.
very much, and I cannot wait for our next topic. This is the conclusion of the vulnerability part
Yes.
section, and we see you next week.
We'll
Bye.
see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, dearest one. Can't wait.